Hey, this is Chris G here with the Titan's Tale again today. And today we have John Renken here. And John is an author, a veteran, and an entrepreneur. And he's here to help us inspire empires. So welcome, John. How you doing today?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you. So, John, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into some deep conversations and
Sure.
storytelling? Yeah.
Um, Born and raised in Illinois and Texas, two radically different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Joined the military when I was a young man. After having done sales since I was 11, started newspaper route, was doing some telemarketing.
Sure.
Served in the military, then went to college, came back to military town, started doing government contracting sales and teaching special forces how to fight for 20 years, and then started doing sales again.
Sales. So when you did, was it considered like business to business sales?
Well, it would actually be business to government. I have B2B. I was doing in 2015. It's actually a kind of funny story, not political, but
we like stories, so go ahead.
Yeah. So in the military world, Democrats typically tend to shave the budget, and Republicans tend to either leave it alone or
increase it. Yeah.
Right.
That's that's not political. That's just a fact.
Yeah, it's just but you gotta know it because people think that you're going to get into some political rant.
No.
So I was a government contractor, and in 2015, when I looked at the political landscape, like probably many people, I thought there was going to be a Democratic president, not a Republican president. And so I started asking myself, what am I going to do if my job gets cut? Because I'd been there for 15 years.
Wow.
And so I've done sales my whole life, was doing government sales, B2G. And so I got an opportunity to sell incentive packages to corporations. So I did some B2B there, and I've done tons of B2C. And I started, really kind of looking at because 2015 is kind of when you started really hearing about the side hustle gig, right? Yeah. So I started side hustle doing travel sales and, those kind of things. And that was all kind of born out of this, turbulent time from 2015 to 2016. It was really funny because, so I started that side gig thinking I was going to lose my main gig. And then in 2020, because of COVID, I lost both my side gig and my main
gig.
So
you think you got yourself covered?
Did nothing to my career. It was COVID.
Right.
So,
well, and now that I'm thinking about, my guest, I tell you that, so you just know, we always have a conversation here on the old Titan's Tale, and I told John that we weren't going to really talk about it in particular as soon as it come up in my mind. But so now I have a question. Can you briefly is a hard word sometimes. Can you briefly explain the difference between B2B, B2C,
sure,
and B2G? And I know what they are, and you can tell what they are, but how they differentiate.
Yeah, that's actually, so that's a great nuance, right? So B2C is business to consumer. So you buy a cell phone, that's B2C. You buy life insurance, that's B2C. B2B is where you sell as a business to another business. So Zoom as a good example, right? They have enterprise accounts. Any of those kind of software type of platforms typically end up being what we call B2B. But then there's B2G, that's business to government. So that's where you as a business have a product or a service that you're then turning back around and selling to the government.
Now, is it harder to sell one? Well, I'm assuming it depends on your product. I'm curious on the business to the government. Is it complicated paperwork?
Yeah,
we used to do government stuff before when I was in printing, and there's a lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork in B2G. It's a much longer sales cycle, very kind of reminiscent of kind of like the medical device sales. Some of those devices that they're selling for, medical procedures, are in the millions. So you might sell one a year. So B to G is very much like that. Those sales cycles can be 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
So
now you were or you're CEO for Southwestern Consulting, right?
no, I'm for Sales Platoon. I'm a coach.
Sales Platoon. Okay. Sales Platoon, or let's talk about the consulting part. Do y'all consult? Do you specialize in a certain B2C, B2B, or B2G, or is it just across the board?
Southwestern, man, is one of the greatest companies, because what they do is they look for sales professionals that have been top performers across the industries. So we have people like myself that did predominantly business to government sales, so I can help in that regard. But then we have a bunch of people that did B2C. We have a bunch of people that did B2B. So as a company, we're not focused on B2C or B2G or B2B. The individuals might be, though.
Gotcha. So if I got a listener or somebody who's interested in looking for some sales coaching, you guys can kind of cover the gamut depending on what you're wanting to do.
Yeah.
When I want to say this, so I was in sales, and obviously so you're much bigger in sales. How did you balance your work life? I did a lot of traveling, and I'm guessing you probably did. Well, even with military, you did a lot of traveling too.
A lot of travel.
How do you, if a guy's a business owner and trying to find that fine line, how did you guys recommend that? Even your consulting now, that where that's all they drive. Their drive is sales, but there's more to life than just sales too.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is to give up on the idea of balance. There is no such thing, right?
Sure.
There is no such thing as balance when you look at your day to day.
Okay.
You have to understand that balance comes in the seasons. Take football as an example.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in football season, when Tom Brady is in season, there is no balance.
Now, I'm a Mahomes because I'm a Chiefs fan.
Yeah. We'll see. Like, he's the guy that could replace Brady. There's no question.
Yeah, all right.
I think you like excellence. So I don't care what team you're from. If you have a chance to be the best ever, which I think Mahomes definitely does, and I want to watch it because I like watching people break records and do the impossible.
Oh, and
I would love to see him do 7 or 8 Super Bowls.
No, I'm not downplaying Tom Brady. He's very, very talented individual.
Yeah. Yeah. But so when you look at him, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, by the way, Brady did beat Mahomes. So
anyway.
So when you look at it, during season, there is no balance. It's football 7 days a week.
Right.
However, after season, that's when they recruit, they do family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sales, I think, is the very same way. You need to understand that sales is cyclical. There will be times of madness, and then there will be times where you can relax. And you need to take opportunity when it comes. So when the cycle is on the downside, you need to take that time to rest, recover, and to really kind of do the things that you need to do to recuperate. There's some really fascinating studies out there that talk about this concept, that the top performers are people that regularly in their cycle schedule vacations.
Well, I can
go work, take breaks. Now, just use insurance as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Their real busy time is from October through February. There is no break. Because that's open enrollment, right? So they're going 6-7 days a week from dark 30 until they're done. Okay. But then from March until October, it's really not as busy. So they need to understand that, schedule that appropriately, take their downtime where they can get it, come back recharged, refueled, ready to go.
And it's important for the husband, wife, the family to understand there's go times and not go times too.
That's right.
Be supportive of that. Um, I'm thinking I've got I have friends who are contractors and talk about concrete, for example. You can't, here in Missouri, you can't pour concrete year round. So in the summer, in the spring and summer months, in the fall, they're go, go, go. And then my one buddy takes a 2 week vacation every year. They go in February. And actually, it's gotten to a point where even recently, with our weather patterns, we can pour concrete in February. And he and I've talked about it. He goes, boy, I need to take this vacation. I'm going. But the best part is he has a team that can actually work during February, even though it's not unusual. But he can trust them to go do the work while he still go takes a vacation. And we're in a farming community as well. You talk about it's the same thing with the insurance. I got an insurance partner who he's busy, swamped, but then he oversees 3,000 insurance agents. On the other hand, my farmers, you're busy in the springtime when you're planting, and you're busy at harvest time, spring and fall. But summer and winter are either hunting and fishing or loving every day. Is that the story? That's the song. But yeah, they're doing something that they can relax or not as intense, and spread that with the family. So thank you for that. I had kind of thought about it, but not really in the way I asked you. So
yeah, and it's really good that you brought it up. The family needs to understand. So, like, if you haven't noticed, it's hard to make money right now. Inflation. I was just buying breakfast the other day for my kids, cooked breakfast, and it was a very, not a ton of stuff. I had like 8 items. It's like $125. So when you can,
you mean at a restaurant? Oh wow, yeah.
Well, bacon, milk, eggs, So I had 8 or 10 items. I had a couple of
yeah, sure.
Right.
But still, it adds up.
It adds up. And so when you think about this conversation about the family needs to understand, money doesn't materialize from nowhere. Right. And you sometimes see people talk about, I don't really care about money. Well, you don't care about money until you don't have any.
That's correct.
So, and you need to prioritize your family, but your family also needs to understand that work is prioritizing them.
We'll get in I don't even go down that rabbit hole. No. I was thinking about investing and being but people become entrepreneurs because they want to, in their mind, they want to get away from the corporate life, or then they call it corporate, but they want to be their own boss, right?
Yep.
And sometimes that even ties them up more, being your own boss.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about sometimes.
Well,
not all the time.
but you had to create a team, right? So that you can take those downtimes that you're necessary.
If you get to that place.
Yeah.
Look at a mom and pop store, right? Whatever it is, restaurant, gun store, it doesn't matter.
Whatever. Yeah.
Mom and pop store, gas station, even. That's their job. Now, the good news is it's theirs.
Right.
Bad news is it's the exact same thing as a corporate lifestyle.
They're still locked up. Yeah.
Yeah. So
me and a buddy went to a hotel. We were doing a little road trip, and we just picked a place along the way. And Google's good about that. It's like, well, that's a little good. We're going to stop right here. And we walked in, and the guy behind the counter, my buddy had called earlier that day to talk about availability. And the guy answered the phone. No big deal. Told my friend Dale what was going on. So when we showed up, it was like later. I mean, it was nighttime. So it was like 9:30 in the evening. And we walked in and say, hey, I called earlier. And he goes, yeah, you're Dale. And it's like, yeah, are you the guy I talked to? Oh, yeah. The guy, obviously, he owns the hotel. He obviously lives there too. He literally cannot get away from it.
Right.
So,
do you follow MMA at all? Do you know who Dana White is?
my buddy sends me. Yes, I do, because my buddy sends me a different buddy sends me links and stuff like that
Yeah.
to watch
So
the highlights.
Daniel White said this. He was talking about, they were asking him something about entrepreneurs. And he said the idea that you can be your own boss and not work is false.
That's absolutely.
Because you're going to work more. And the truth is that I run all my own stuff. I'm usually at work, if I'm not at the gym, by 6:30 in the morning. And sometimes I don't get out of here till 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's other days that I get out of here at noon.
Yeah.
Right. So here's what I tell everybody. You have to make a decision. And here's the decision. And it really boils down to this little small sliver. You are either the person that wants to take risk for the chance of opportunity, or you want stability that comes from security. And you can't have both.
Yep.
So in sales, just use the sales as the example. There are two paradigms. Commission only work, which typically pays 50% in commission or more, which is going to pay you a lot more. Or you can go with a base plus OTE, which pays you maybe 1%.
Now, my base plus, I've been both. And you're right. Fortunately, my base plus was a little bit better than that 1%, but still, you can't make as much as you can.
No.
I mean, you just can't do it.
Just can't
And
do
there's
it.
plus and minuses to both. And
yeah,
I'm not either one.
There is a few, exceptions to the rule out there.
Sure.
Base plus OTE typically maxes out somewhere around $125,000 a year.
Yep.
Not a bad living.
Oh no, I was very happy. Yeah.
But not a bad living, but not great, right?
But I was still tied to that though.
Yeah, but see,
I had to go in every day. I had to go. I mean,
you are not in control of your schedule.
No.
Now, how many people that were 1099s, commission only, that were making 3, 4, 6, 900,000 a year?
Oh yeah, making good money.
Making really good money.
Working 3 days a week.
Yeah, working 2 days.
The ones I know. Yeah, the ones I know.
So, if you really, and again, and both are okay models, but it really goes down to, are you more interested in opportunity or security?
Fair point. Do you see a lot of the people that you coach one way or the other?
Well, I think people that are more risk-taking and opportunistic are probably a far lesser percentage of the population.
That's true. But would those people be more likely to search out your type of consulting?
Yeah, because look, at the end of the day, so again, going back to that model, base plus OTE,
Yep.
If you're maxing out at 125, 175, why would you pay for a coach?
Exactly.
Because your income's already limited.
Yep.
So
and most people are satisfied with that.
Yeah. Right. So now you could be at the lower end, 80, 90,000 and trying to get to 125, then a coach makes sense. Right. But the truth is that what do you in the mind? So I used to do a lot of fighting and combative stuff.
Yep.
Why pay $150 a month for self-defense lessons when chances are you're never going to have more than $100 cash on you, and the chances of you getting mugged are even less? Right?
Heard that. Yep.
So from a cost analysis, self-defense lessons don't make sense until you're the one getting mugged. It's the same with coaching.
Gotcha. So let's say I'm a business owner, and me personally, I promote team building, and I'm sure you do too, and obviously the grow and so forth. So what do you recommend? If I had a sales team, am I better off as a business owner doing commission only?
Well, so you are better off as a business.
Well, I am better off, sure.
1099s.
From a
you don't have to pay the taxes,
business point,
and all that stuff.
Right. Right.
The problem with that is that the percentage of people who are willing to do that is low. So your hiring cycle takes a lot longer, and you're going to have a lot more rollover, and you're going to have a lot more turnover trying to find those people that can really take your business to the next level.
Sure.
So there's a group that I'm working with right now. They have a very good model. Like, I really like their model as far as a company. And their model is your first year to 2 years, you're on a base plus. When you've got your feet underneath you and you've developed your system at their company, they, over the course of that year to 2 years, they start decreasing your base and increasing your commission. At roughly the 18-month mark, you're totally commission only. So that gives you a little bit of both. As the company, you get the opportunity to sift people while the work is still getting done. As the person, it gives you the ability to develop some stability and education so that then you could flip it and then you can make the real money.
Gotcha. And obviously, as a business owner, if my salespeople are making money, I'm making money.
That's right. Well, as a business owner, man,
in theory,
1099, you don't have to pay taxes, you don't have to pay health insurance, you don't have, so like
that's the advantage of that part
profit
of this.
margin is, even though you're losing, whatever it ends up being, right? Commission only, depending on the size of the product or the valuation of the service, somewhere between 30 and 50%, right? So, but you can do that because you're not paying all this other stuff, right?
Sure.
Now, as an individual, even like I mean, funny because I have a company. They were talking about some goals and they were asking me about it, and they're like, "Yeah, and when you get to this level, then we put you on a W-2." And I'm like, "Why the hell would I do that?"
Exactly.
Like,
I've already come this far.
Yeah, because then I lose all my write-offs. I lose, right? So now all of a sudden your taxable income goes from, basically 15% as a self-employed person to nearly 30%. And you have no write-offs as a W-2.
And then you get addicted to all the good stuff, all the benefits, and then you're wondering, well, how am I going to get away from it? And either you had to take a hard decision. That's a bad deal.
Yeah, listen, man. But so last year, because you do have to travel in sales or entrepreneurialism, owning your own company. I had like $20,000 in write-offs in mileage.
Yeah,
easy. That's just mileage, not travel, just mileage. That's money. That $20,000 that the government gave me back is money I'm not paying them in taxes.
Damn right. But anyway, this is not a tax show, so we'll get on to some.
But it could be.
Sales
and taxes go hand in hand, man.
All day long. So tell me a story that you've helped. Well, somebody come to you for consulting of some sort, and you help them increase their sales or fix a problem that they had.
Sure.
That was
one of my favorite stories is Matthew Joyce, real estate agent, came to me when we started working together, was making about 80 grand a year. Last year he cleared 260. Great guy. Just a phenomenal person.
Now, I'm going to ask a question because my mom's a real estate agent, and the last couple of years have been really good. So my question is, did he go from 80 to 260 because of the market, or what did he change to help improve that?
Well, there's no secret sauce to sales.
No.
Right. And this is just this past year. The market sucks.
Well, it really depends on where you're at. But that being said, though, it's not as robust as it was years ago. Agreed.
So everybody knows what they should be doing. But just don't. So the secret sauce of coaching is not in the techniques, it's in the accountability. And somebody's sitting there with you going, "Hey, Chris, you told me you wanted to make 100 grand this year, 100 extra grand this year.
Yep.
But you're not doing the work."
or you haven't changed anything.
or you haven't done this, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I mean, there is some of it that's, bouncing ideas and having somebody that's on your side, sharpshooting you to make you better, But the truth is I think it really boils down to, I know I've got this call coming up and I haven't done my work.
Yeah. So this actually ties back to some coaching I've had, and also we were discussing back. You said everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Well, with the oncoming of the internet, what we're supposed to do is available everywhere now. Here's what we need to do. But the coaching now becomes more of implementation than it is telling them what needs to happen.
Right.
And that's what you're kind of saying. It's like you're there as accountability to make sure that, well, I know that if I got to increase my sales, I got to make so many calls. So when they're on a call with you, you say, well, how many calls you make? I made 20. Well, how many calls were you supposed to make based on your math and on your percentages and so forth? Well, I should have made 100. Well, you're not going to get where you need to be or ought to be unless you make the 100 calls.
That's right.
So
I tell everybody, sales is not easy, but it's simple. Okay. These are nationwide statistics.
Yep.
And it's across the industry. Think about this.
Yep.
For every 100 calls you make, 20 people will answer the phone. Out of the 20 people, 2 to 3 people will set an appointment with you. Out of that 2 to 3 people, if you're a decent, salesperson, you don't have to be the best, you'll close 1 to 2. So now if you're a real estate agent, your commission, depending on where you live in the country, it's going to be somewhere between $6,000 and $10,000 per close.
Mm-hmm.
20 phone calls a day is 100 phone calls a week.
Yep.
If I guaranteed you make $100 phone calls a week, you'll make anywhere from $18,000 to $36,000 a month. Would you do it?
I should say yes, but people don't.
But they don't.
That's right.
Right? The numbers are the numbers, and that's the data across the industries. So it doesn't matter if it's real estate or software sales. You make 100 calls, 20 people answer, 3 people set an appointment, 1 to 2 of those 3 people will buy.
That's that simple.
It's that simple. And here's the great thing about sales. You just have to be dumb enough not to quit.
So what stops people?
Their mind.
Is it
Their mind.
Their mind. Is it fear or is it distress? Meaning, for example, if I had to make 100 phone calls and the first 25 I make are all no, do I just quit? Is that what people do? Or is it, I don't know what to say on my first phone call or what do you see the most?
It's just fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. Gotcha.
Right? So there's a great book. It says it's called Go for No. And he says,
so many no's or something like that.
Yeah, 20 no's a day will make you rich.
But that's right.
20 no's a day.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
And that's almost kind of, as people hear that, it sounds negative, but ultimately it's all positive at the end.
Yeah.
Because that 21st, 20 no's a day. So the 21st one, you're looking for the.
Yeah.
No, I can see that. That is definitely, and it's different. You think that's changed the amount of no's over time?
Well, I think, again, it's kind of like the national average of calls, right?
Yeah.
I think it depends on what you're selling. Life insurance, you probably need more than 20 no's.
Yeah.
But life insurance makes more millionaires than
it pays more. Oh, absolutely. $1 million roundtables, an association in Naperville. Anyway, up in the Chicago area.
Yeah.
That's all they are. They're an association of $1 million people just from life insurance.
Yep. So that one might be more, but then you look at, something, it's really about what's a pleasure buy versus a grudge buy. Life insurance, nobody's excited to buy, even though they should be.
Right.
Whereas if we're talking about buying a vacation, Travel agents probably don't need 20 no's,
That's true.
right?
They're not making as much. They
Yeah.
need the volume versus an insurance
right.
agent. Yeah, it's just all about the numbers, obviously.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that was because back in the early, like mid-90s, early 2000s, I had some coaching, and at that time we were talking about 7 touches. That
Yeah.
if you had to reach out to a person 7 times and you continue on, and that
That's still
8th
roughly
time,
the number.
yeah. I've actually heard it increase.
7 touches to get a sale.
Yeah, and I've kind of heard that has almost increased a little bit because of the technology we have and how many touches are automated, and we've become numb to some of those touches.
Yeah. 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 And I would probably agree with that, right?
Yeah. So tell me about Sales Platoon.
Yeah.
What is that?
So Sales Platoon is right now, there's roughly 180,000 people to get out of the military every single year. Of that number, the vast majority of them will only get about $20 an hour. The vast majority. However, as you and I know, you could be a really shitty sales guy and make more than $20 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So Sales Platoon is where we take transitioning military members, we teach them how to do sales, and we get them hired at companies.
That's awesome. Would you say that even a shitty salesperson, as long as they're consistent, is the key? Or one of the
I
keys?
think consistency is the key of all of it. And have you ever heard of Jim Rohn?
No.
Okay, so he
What's his
mentored
last name?
Tony Robbins.
Huh?
He
Tony
mentored
Robbins?
Tony Robbins.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I know who you're talking about. Well, I won't say everybody knows Tony Robbins, but a lot of people know who Tony Robbins is.
So Jim Rohn says this: if you take 2 guys and one guy does 10 out of 10, so he's a great sales guy.
Yep.
10 out of 10. The great thing about sales is the guy who does 1 out of 10 can still beat the guy who does 10 out of 10. If he consistently does 10 calls a day, every day, and gets 1 out of 10, how many days does it take him to pass this guy?
10 or 11. Yeah.
11 days, right?
Yep.
Now, if you're consistent and you're stubborn enough to just keep after it, pretty soon it's not 1 out of 10, it's 2 out of 10.
Because you improve based on your
Improve.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like going to the gym. Your first day there, you probably don't feel so good. Day 90, you probably start to feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And it becomes
have to be consistent.
Not only does it become a habit after 90, I used to work out in college for football. So, but anyway, it becomes almost an addiction sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the brain is amazing. The brain is amazing. The more you do it, the more your brain goes, hey, there's an easier, it's lazy. It's going to say, hey, we're not really doing this very efficiently. How can we figure out to do this easier?
Yeah.
The brain does that all on its own.
There's nothing conscious about it. It just does it.
The brain just tries to operate at efficiency. So the more that you do the sales process, the more likely you are to become successful. The question is do you have the wherewithal, the intestinal fortitude to go through it? Gotcha.
Now, this is not necessarily off topic because we're going to talk about sales. I'm talking about businesses. I had actually had a podcast the other day, interview guest, and we were talking about the transition from military to civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about Sales Platoon teaching great guys how to be salespeople.
Right.
You have to overcome some of those issues first before you get them to that point. We were talking about communication, really, how you communicate as a military person versus a civilian. That when you're in sales as a civilian, you got to talk our language, obviously.
Right.
Or whether it be B2B or B2C, you got to at least talk our language. And maybe B2G might be a little easier if you're a veteran or so forth. But you have to overcome some of those things with your clients.
We do. So, as a matter of fact, I just had this conversation with a company the other day because of the candidates that we gave them. They're like, so there is a lot of interpretation, but there's a lot of interpretation that happens on the military side too. So you got to remember, for the military, the vast majority of them have done multiple years. It's rare anymore that it's 2 and done. Okay. So whether they've done 2 years or 20 years, they're coming from a completely socialist society where everything down to what you're going to eat, think, and say is determined for you, to coming into a capitalist society where it's all on you. So there's a lot that goes into this.
We had to go back to hire one position in my past years. I loved hiring military people. There are a lot of advantages to it in my mind. They show up on time, typically well groomed. I don't mean that's important, but I mean it's just you could tell there's pride in that person. They attentive, but I don't remember necessarily having one in sales. But I just found that there was a lot of pluses to having a military person.
Yeah.
Do you see that as is there companies out there that you guys recruit for that find that as a plus?
Oh yeah. Almost everybody understands the discipline and the work ethic and the mindset of a military person is something that you should seek after, especially in hiring. Now, I mean, just like every other thing, we have people that are sub-performers, right? But
sure.
If you take the average person in the military versus the average person in the civilian population, you're going to be better off with the military person.
Now I have this question mainly because I know some people are wanting to graduate and deciding what they want to do with their life, whether go to the military or just go to work or college or even a tech school. Is there a division of the military that's better suited for the transition into a civilian life?
Cybersecurity.
What's that?
Cybersecurity.
Is that offered in all of them, or is that mainly in
cybersecurity?
Okay.
Well, so we have 6 branches now, right? But the Coast Guard and the Space Force, all of them have cybersecurity.
I forgot the Space Force, but yeah, okay. They all have cybersecurity, and that's something in the future. But
I think it's the wave of the future.
Gotcha. Well, that might be a good business to start, and then hire people from out. If you're going to be, if I've got some entrepreneurs here listening to some ideas.
Yeah, I know guys in cyber sales doing $300,000 and $500,000 a year in sales.
Wow.
And then the operators on the cybersecurity side started about 55, 60 within a year or two, are making 100, all the way up to I just had a buddy who got hired for $250 a year.
So if those guys are making that much as sales, what do you think their business owners are making? Lots of money.
It's an opportunity for sure.
And when you say cybersecurity, you mean like software that, or maybe all the above? What is cybersecurity? And
so basically, you have 2 sides of the house: the defensive side. So how do we prevent people from hacking into our systems? And the offensive side, how do we go after people, or how do we test systems to make sure that we're up on par?
Gotcha.
Okay. And each has their own flavor, and each has their own compensation structure. And
sure. We talk about opportunities, and we mainly, what you hear about is the here's what's going to happen negatively. You never hear about the opportunities sometimes.
Right.
And that's an opportunity that it's starting to be a growing market, right? It's probably been around a while, but not as strongly as when technology grows, it becomes more and more. How's that actually? I'm thinking about it. I know I'm changing gears, but with AI taking over and not even be able to tell what the hell is real and what's not, is that where this cybersecurity is going to become more and more important?
I would have to have a cybersecurity person tell you that, but I would in my brain think that AI does all that.
Uh, whew, it's amazing where we're at. It is to me, not being a very technical person.
Yep.
I'm the big picture person. So, John, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and either hire a salesperson or uh, improve their sales, whether it be a corporate person or even a business owner, and that's what we really focus on here, how they get hold of you.
Best way is just go to mysalesplatoon.com or find me on LinkedIn, John Renken. I think I'm like one of the only John Renkens on LinkedIn. So
Renken spelled Renken.
that's
Is that
right. Yeah.
Well, I certainly do appreciate you being with me today. Enjoyed our conversation. Um, we do like to inspire empires, and empires are built based on sales. So,
Yep.
that being said, you have a great day, and I do appreciate you joining us.
All right. Great. Thanks, man.
All right.